Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits. Today, I'm calling a do-over. I recently went back and watched my very first video, and it was cringy. So today, I'm going to take another look at the Corpse Reviver No. 2 and some of its variants, and see if I can't do a better job this time. Looking at the evolution of the Corpse Reviver No. 2 was my very first video. I had no idea what I was doing, and it shows. Go ahead and take a look. Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits, where we're going to explore classic cocktails, their modern variations, and what you can do to make a cocktail your own. So today, we're going to redo those same three cocktails with better lighting, better audio, and a little more practiced host. The first time the Corpse Reviver name shows up on a cocktail was in 1871, and it was just a mix of brandy, maraschino liqueur, and some bitters. But that's not the recipe people know today. We're going to use the recipe from the 1930 Savoy cocktail book by Harry Craddock. The book has two Corpse Reviver recipes, the No. 1 and the No. 2. The No. 1, it's stated, to be taken before 11 a.m. whenever steam and energy are needed. But we're going to be focusing on the Corpse Reviver No. 2, where it said, 4 of these, taken in quick succession, will unrevive the corpse again. So I guess we've got to stop at 3. This is one of my favorite styles of cocktails. It's an equal parts cocktail. So we're going to start with 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce of an orange liqueur. I prefer Pierre Fernand dry curacao in this, but you could use Cointreau or another orange liqueur of your choice. Now we need 3/4 of an ounce of gin. London Dry is the standard for this recipe, but you can play around with contemporary gins, even a Plymouth gin. I've tried them all different ways. They all work really good. There's some debate about the third ingredient. Today, I'm using Coca Americano, and we're going to need 3/4 of an ounce of that as well. The original recipe actually calls for Lillet, but a lot of people say Lillet's formula has changed over time, and Coca Americano is a lot closer to what Lillet used to taste like. I've tried it with both, and they're both really good. The Coca is going to add a little more bitterness, where the Lillet will come out a little drier, but they're both great cocktails. Add some ice, and shake it for about 15 to 20 seconds. The final ingredient in this recipe is some absinthe. I'm going to use an atomizer and spray some in the glass. You could also pour some in the glass and roll it around, dump out the excess, or even use a dasher bottle and add a dash of absinthe straight into the drink before shaking. Spraying it just looks cooler. Now we're going to strain that into our prepared coupe. And we'll garnish that very traditionally with a cherry on a cocktail pick. That's the Corpse Reviver No. 2. I just love so many of these old recipes. This has got a complex flavor that's sweet and tart, a little bit bitter, really delicious. The herbal notes of the gin are present. It's just a really well-balanced cocktail. The Corpse Reviver existed before Prohibition in America. After Prohibition, tiki cocktails came into style. In the 70s and 80s, cocktails got kind of bad. So by the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of these recipes had been forgotten by most bartenders, till a few started to brush off some of these old recipes and bring them out again. One of those bartenders was Sam Ross at Milk and Honey in New York. In 2008, he came up with a variation of the Corpse Reviver No. 2 called the Sunflower. This is going to be the same equal parts formula, starting with 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce of orange curacao. I believe Sam's recipe used Cointreau, but I'm going to use the Pierre Fernand's dry curacao here. 3/4 of an ounce of gin, usually a London Dry, but again, you can play around with gins in this. And in place of the Lillet or Coca Americano, Sam Ross used elderflower liqueur. So we're going to add 3/4 of an ounce of Saint Germain. This adds sweetness and a really nice floral note. Give it a good shake. And once again, we're going to use an absinthe rinse on the glass. And strain in the drink. And for garnish, cherries feel pretty classic, but a dehydrated lemon wheel feels a lot more modern. And there you have Sam Ross's Sunflower. That's delicious. As much as I like the Corpse Reviver number 2, this is just a step above. The addition of the elderflower liqueur takes away some of the bitterness, but adds so much floral flavor to it. It really enhances the gin. It makes for a slightly sweeter, a little less bitter cocktail. It's really one of my all-time favorites. The beautiful thing about this recipe is it's so easy to swap in and out ingredients. Just the way Sam Ross did by replacing the koki with elderflower, we can swap in so many other ingredients. Instead of the orange curacao, how about a yuzu curacao? Or passion fruit, mango, apricot. This one is one of my favorite ways to make a sunflower. Or maybe you want something a little darker, some berry notes. Chambord would work great for a raspberry sunflower, but one of my favorites is this fleur chamante. This is a mix of 3 different berries and 3 different flowers. It's fruity and herbal and floral. It's really delicious. Because this is equal parts, you can scale it up or down as needed. I've had times where I made it with a full ounce of everything, and other times where I've made it with half or a quarter of an ounce if I'm experimenting with replacing one of the components. Now let's do 3/4 of an ounce of our fleur chamante. I am probably mangling the pronunciation on that. It's been a long time since I took a couple of semesters of French in middle school. Now 3/4 of an ounce of our dry gin. If you're looking for something a little more floral, Hendrick's works really good in this too. And since we haven't used it yet, for our last ingredient, let's do 3/4 of an ounce of the Lillet. I think the dryness of this is really going to pair well with the raspberry and floral flavors over here. Let's give that a good shake. Once again, rinse the glass with absinthe. I'm going to go a little heavy on the absinthe with this one, because I just love absinthe. Strain. And since we're just making this one up as we go along, we're going to garnish this one with my new favorite garnish, a piece of dehydrated starfruit. And there you have my speakeasy concoction sunflower thing. If you got a good name for this, leave it in the comments below. I just came up with a good name. How about a sunfleur? This has a nice tartness from the raspberry. Raspberry and lemon work well together. Anybody that's eaten at Cheesecake Factory knows their raspberry lemonade is fantastic. This has hints of that in it. With the Lillet, there's almost no bitterness to this one, but there is a complicated herbal and floral flavor in the background. I really don't know if I could pick a favorite between these 3. They're all just really good, and these are some of my favorite cocktails. If you're looking to start creating your own cocktail recipes and experiment with different flavors, I really encourage you to start with a equal parts cocktail like this. The Corpse Reviver or Last Word is a really good base to start mixing things up. I hope you liked the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.